guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jalen Mitchell, also known as Natural Rain, and today I'm going to be doing a what you should know before dyeing your hair video, because I asked you guys in my last video if you guys want to see it, and y'all said yes. There was like a lot of comments. Y'all overwhelmingly said yes, so I was like, I'm gonna push back what I had going on. This is gonna be the next video since y'all want to see it. I know a lot of people want to dye their hair. They want to have healthy, color treated hair. So if I could help, I'm gonna let you know everything that I possibly can. Okay, so I wrote everything down in my notes. Yes, I did. That is the only way that I can stay kind of organized. So it's written down for me to kind of go over the details of everything with you guys. So we can get into it. I feel like this goes without saying, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway, because I always know there's at least that one person who wanna say something, so I got you. Disclaimer, I am not a professional, okay? I just have personal experience. I've been dyeing my hair for over 3 years. I've had color treated hair for over 3 years at this point. I've dyed my hair purple. I've dyed my hair blonde. I've dyed my hair red, obviously. And this is just from personal experience. I have not had color damage since I started dyeing my own hair. I have recovered from color damage when I had a stylist do my hair. And I'm not saying don't go to a stylist. By all means, if you have someone you trust, go to them. But I didn't have nobody I trusted. The person I trusted the most was me. So I decided to do it. I took that risk. Another disclaimer, I do want to say, when you're dyeing your hair, you are taking the chance of getting damage, but there are certain precautions that you can take to try to alleviate that, to make sure that your hair stays healthy and all that jazz. So I'm gonna get into it. So number one thing that you need to know is everyone's hair is different. I know it's like, duh, everyone's hair is different, but I think I really need you guys to hear me on that one. Everyone's hair is different. So I'm not just talking about how your hair looks. I'm not just talking about your hair curl pattern. Push that to the side. I'm talking about your density, your porosity, your thickness. These are the things that play a much bigger role. Your hair could look exactly like mine and not take color like mine does. I know it's crazy, I know it's unfair, but that's just the truth. It could look like mine and act nothing like mine. So I think porosity is one of the biggest things that matter. You can have low porosity, you can have high porosity, you can have a normal porosity. They say in general, if you have high porosity, that you should be a little bit more scared to dye your hair, but I did it, okay? I did, I just had to know for myself. But you know, they say if you have lower porosity, you might have a better chance of the color taking and not damaging your hair. Either way, I'm just here to provide you with what worked for me. All of these factors play into how your hair will take the color. Keep that in mind before dyeing your hair. Don't expect it to turn out exactly like someone else's. Expect it to turn out like yours, because that's what's gonna happen. So you won't be disappointed, so just listen. What your hair can do. Not what other people's hair can do, what your hair can do. So my tip number 2 is the best way to maintain healthy hair is to start off with healthy hair, okay? If your hair is damaged and then you go and color it, you have increased the chances of your hair being more damaged. Whereas if you start from a healthy head of hair and then you dye it, you decrease your chances of having damage. So for example, with me, it's the only example that I have, y'all. With me, I have naturally dark brown hair. You see them roots? That's my natural color. So I went from dark brown to red when I originally dyed my hair. I went from dark brown straight to red. My hair had never been dyed before. And then I went to the red. I already wasn't straightening my hair. I already wasn't doing those things very often. I had a very healthy head of hair to start with. And I really think that played a role in my hair being okay after dyeing it, on top of the aftercare that I took after dyeing it. So start off with healthy hair. That is the best way. If you have heat damage, I'm not saying you can't color your hair, you definitely can, but if it didn't start off healthy, don't expect it to end healthy. You gotta at least start your hair off healthy. So my tip number 3 is hair porosity. I touched on it in the beginning, I think in tip 1, whatever. I touched on it, hair porosity. Are you high porosity, low porosity, or medium normal porosity? I am high porosity. They say if you're high porosity, you have a higher chance of damaging your hair with dye, and this is the science, I guess you could say. This is the stuff behind it. Basically, high porosity, our cuticles are already lifted, right? They're already lifted. So that's why moisture gets into our hair so easily, but it also leaves just as quickly. Now, imagine your cuticles are already lifted, the hair follicle, whatever, it's lifted. And then you dye your hair. That's going to lift it even more. So you have a higher chance of damaging your hair. You have a higher chance of your hair becoming a higher porosity. Like, it's already high porosity, but it is going to be even more porous when you dye your hair. Are you ready for that? All my high porosity people, are you ready for that? Because that's what happens when you lift color. I'm not talking about when you add color. So if I went from dark brown to black, that's not nearly as damaging as a lifting color. Like I said, hair is already raised, you're gonna raise it even more. If you're low porosity, that means that your hair doesn't receive moisture as easily and it doesn't leave as easily once it's in there. So lower porosity, they tend to be on the safer side simply because even if their cuticle raises, it's not gonna be like this, like high porosity. It can raise and be straight. Okay, they might go from low porosity to high porosity after dyeing their hair, but it's not like going from high porosity to an even higher porosity. I really hope that that makes sense. If you understand the concept of porosity, then this would be helpful. Basically, porosity is how well your hair receives moisture. So my tip number 4, and I need you guys to really listen and hear me on this one because this is one of my like big tips. You do not need to permanently dye your hair to maintain your color. If your hair is already dyed, for example, my hair is already dyed red. If this red were to fade, which it is going to because red bleeds like a mug, when it fades, you can use a semi-permanent hair color and it will not damage your hair. You can even mix in a deep conditioner with that semi-permanent hair color. You do not have to go crazy and dye your hair again with a permanent box dye or a permanent dye in general. Just use the semi-permanent. I can use semi-permanent in my hair as much as I want to and I won't have an issue. It's the best thing ever, okay? Now, you cannot use semi-permanent if your hair hasn't been lifted to a certain degree, if that makes sense. So, for example, if your hair is dark brown, you cannot use semi-permanent hair dye to dye your hair red. It will not take because the red is lighter than the brown. You may be able to see a tint of red in the sun, but you will not be able to see red like this. And let me just go ahead and tell you, don't expect to see red like this if you do that. Okay, now, if you have dark brown hair and you dye your hair black, this semi-permanent will work for you because black is darker than that brown. So just think of that concept whenever you're dyeing your hair. If your hair is dark brown, it is not gonna go blonde from a semi-permanent. You can hang that up. You can only do colors darker than your hair with a semi-permanent because it does not lift color. Because it doesn't lift color, that's what makes it so non-damaging. And that's what makes it great to maintain a color that you already have. Listen to me because I'm preaching facts today, y'all. Like, this is the one. I never understood why people would continue to use box dye all the freaking time on their hair. The caveat to this is that if you want to keep your roots the color that you originally dyed it, you will have to use that box dye or whatever permanent dye that you're using just to maintain it, because like I said, a semi-permanent will not dye the darker hair. It just won't. So for me, I let my hair grow out because to me this still looks really good even as it's growing. I have over a year of new growth and I still think it looks great, so I'm not tripping. But if you're someone who wants to have their whole head at all times that color that you dyed it, that's when you would have to use that permanent dye, and that's when you stand the chance of getting more damage. But you can also just touch up your roots and not do the whole head of hair. Okay, so the next thing that you should know, my tip number 5, is basically all colors were not created equal. Some will damage your hair more than others. On the scale, red isn't as damaging. So think about going from brown to red, then going a stage up to orange, then maybe making a leap, jump, and a skip to blonde, okay? Blonde is the most damaging by far. When you bleach your hair, whatever, blonde is the most damaging. And it also depends on what type of blonde you're going. So like bleach blonde, I would say is top tier. Bleach blonde and like ash blonde, top tier, most damaging colors. I don't know if my hair will make it if I did that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just not sure, and I'm not really willing to take that risk. But red was more of a safer color. It's a color that I could go direct to. I could go from dark brown to red just like that. Whereas other colors, you might have to take some other steps. You might have to go to an in-between color before you get all the way to the lightest color, just so your hair isn't damaged. So I just need you to know that if you're dyeing your hair and you wanna go blonde and you're starting from a dark color like me, you're risking the chance of getting more damage than I risked when I dyed my hair red. Red and blonde were not created equal, and those are just for examples, okay? So think about colors. The lighter it is, the more chance of damage you have. The darker it is, the less chance of damage that you have. You wanting to go blonde and you wanting to go red are not the same thing. Red, you have a better chance of making it out with your curls intact. Blonde, less chance. You could still do it maybe. I don't know. I'm not blonde right now. I've done blonde before, but not bleach blonde. Not bleach blonde. So my number 6 tip is maintenance matters. Say it with me, all together now. Maintenance matters. It's not just about when you originally dye your hair. Everybody always talks about, you know, originally dyeing your hair, and that's smooth and great and all, and that's important. However, what do you do after you dye your hair? Okay, if your answer is nothing, I'm worried for you. You need to make sure that you are taking care of your hair. So when I say taking care of your hair, for example, some things that I've implemented in my routine is I deep condition every single time I wash my hair. Whether I wash my hair twice a week, whether I wash my hair once a week, I'm gonna deep condition. That's just what I do. I take out my conditioner and I just use a deep conditioner in its place. So I shampoo, deep condition, boom. Keeps it simple, keeps it real smooth, keeps it to something that I can maintain, because for me, my hair health is extremely important. But more than deep conditioning, protein treatments. Now, some people are protein sensitive, so I would definitely check up on that. But if you're not protein sensitive, I recommend using a protein treatment. Like the Alpha-G 2-step is a really good one. I'll try to have everything linked down below. The Alpha-G 2-step treatment, that is a really good protein treatment. You don't want to use it too often because it can be very strong, but it can help to rebuild the bonds in your hair that color have broken, that even just having high porosity hair have broken. If you have low porosity hair, you can use protein, but I would use it more sparingly than high porosity naturals. That's just something to think about. I would say like a mixture of these things, just maintenance, constantly taking care of my hair, making sure that my hair is moisturized, has allowed me to maintain very healthy hair that is not breaking off. That's another thing. You dye your hair, you're like, everything's great, my curl pattern's intact, woo! And then your hair starts breaking and you can't make it stop. And you start to question why you even dyed your hair in the first place. And okay, so I know I'm getting emotional, but that's because that literally happened to me. That happened to me. Not from me dyeing my own hair, but from me going to a hairstylist. I went through a lot. My hair broke off. I thought my hair wasn't gonna grow no more. It was just very dramatic. If you don't wanna have that dramatic experience, make sure your hair is moisturized. Make sure you're doing everything you can, listening to your hair, to make sure that you get to keep the hair on your head. Boom. All right, so my next tip is if your hair is dark and you're trying to get to a very light color, you should do it over time. Don't do it all at once. Do not try to go from dark brown or black to bleach blonde. That is incredibly damaging. I would go somewhere in between, wait a couple months if you can, and then go to that lighter shade. Like your hair needs time to recuperate, to recover, and once your hair is damaged, it's just damaged. That's just what it is. Like people will try to tell you like, oh, this will get your curl pattern back, sis. It won't. It's not going to get your curl pattern back. So try to prevent that. Use a preventative measure. Honestly, damage wise, going from a dark color, a naturally dark color, and lightening it to one of the highest, if you're going blonde in general, you might want to take your time, okay? I went blonde. I already had previously colored my hair, so it was already lighter, if that makes sense. So my last tip is basically choose a struggle. I had a real fun time titling that one, but choose a struggle. When I say this, I mean, y'all go ahead and take a guess. Okay, when I say this, I mean, I dye my hair. That's something that I like to do, but I'm not out here straightening my hair all the time. I'm not out here doing a lot of things to damage my hair because they just add up on top of each other. If I'm straightening my hair all the time and dyeing my hair, the chances of my hair being as healthy as it is right now significantly goes down. So I gave up straightening my hair all the time so that I can have healthy, color treated curls. Okay, so you might have to think of something you might want to give up. If health is your end goal, everyone has a different end goal. You might just want your hair to be colored, and that's it. And it don't matter what the curl pattern does, but because you're here and because you follow me, I'm thinking you want hair health as well. Now, I do want to say another disclaimer. This is what worked for me. Not a professional, like I said in the beginning, but this is what worked for me. And none of these tips can hurt you. They can only help you. So I really hope if you guys decide to dye your hair and everything like that, I'm praying for your hair health and that it flourishes and all of that jazz. I really hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, y'all.